How about a place with more bars than you can imagine? And a place that is synonymous with friendliness, full of legends and curious traditions? And what would you do if you were surprised by a woman on her knees asking you to marry her? If that sounds like a dream, then, my friend, it's time to pack your bags. And the destination? I'll give you just 3 clues: a clover, a leprechaun, and a cold Guinness. That's right, we're talking about Ireland. Curious to find out more? Today, Bello Mundo takes you to discover the charms of Ireland, the famous Emerald Isle. Number 1. One island, 2 countries. Before we begin our journey through the curiosities of Ireland, it's important to clarify something that confuses many people. When we talk about Ireland and Northern Ireland, it may seem like we're talking about the same place, but in fact they are 2 different countries that share the same island, which is also called Ireland. In other words, Ireland is an island that has been divided into 2. It's a bit like Korea, which used to be one but ended up divided into North and South. And it's precisely this division into 2 countries that often causes confusion. On the one hand, we have the Republic of Ireland, an independent country with Dublin as its capital. On the other, Northern Ireland, part of the United Kingdom, with Belfast as its capital. This separation in Ireland took place after the Irish War of Independence between 1919 and 1921. At the end of the conflict, the south of the island became the Republic of Ireland, while the north remained under British control. Now that we know this unique geography of the island and its 2 countries, let's continue our journey to explore the charms and curiosities of these 2 countries. Number 2. The birthplace of the Titanic, Belfast. We started our trip around the island by exploring Northern Ireland, and there's nothing better than starting at the country's gateway, the capital Belfast, which holds a famous piece of world history. You may not know it, but this is where the legendary Titanic was built. Yes, the Titanic, the ship that became known as unsinkable and sadly sank in 1912, is Irish and began its journey in the Harland and Wolff shipyard. At the time, this was the largest shipyard in the world, and building the Titanic was a true engineering milestone. Today, the city is home to Titanic Belfast, an interactive museum that explores the ship's entire history, from its construction to its tragic final voyage, which also happened to be its first. Number 3. The Giant's Causeway. Moving on, we left Belfast for the Giant's Causeway, about 3 kilometers from the village of Bushmills. It is undoubtedly one of Northern Ireland's most incredible attractions. With around 40,000 basalt columns formed by volcanic eruptions around 60 million years ago, the site looks like something out of a fairy tale. But what really catches the eye is the legend behind its creation. It is said that the Irish giant Finn McCool built the boardwalk as steps to Scotland, so as not to get his feet wet. However, the most famous legend relates that, while building the boardwalk, the giant was informed that the Scottish giant Ben Andonner was on his way to challenge him. Aware that he wouldn't be able to take on his rival, who was much bigger than him, guess what his reaction was? He ran desperately to his wife Una and asked for help. Una, clever as only she could be, disguised McCool as a baby and prepared some flour cakes, hiding iron molds in some of them. When Ben Andonner arrived, Una told him that her husband was away, but would be back soon. While the Scottish giant waited, his clever wife offered him one of the cakes with the hidden iron. When he took the first bite, he chipped his teeth, to which Una scolded him, saying that her husband and baby ate these cakes easily. In the Irish version of the legend, Ben Andonner was so impressed by the size and strength of the baby that, terrified at the thought of confronting his father, he fled to Scotland, destroying the sidewalk in the process to ensure that he couldn't follow him. It must be from this event that the famous phrase was born, "Behind a great man, there is a great woman, don't you think?" Returning to reality, the geological explanation is less fantastic, but just as impressive. These basalt columns, which appear to have been carved by hand, were formed by the rapid cooling of volcanic lava, creating perfect hexagonal shapes, some more than 12 meters high. It's no wonder that the Giant's Causeway was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1986 and is considered one of Northern Ireland's most extraordinary natural wonders. Number 4. The Irish National Redhead Day. Leaving Northern Ireland, we now come to the Republic of Ireland, or simply Ireland, as we are used to calling it. The Irish in this part of the island are known worldwide for their good humor, friendliness, and of course their amusing slang. Another thing that stands out is how often they say please and thank you. In fact, in Ireland, saying thank you is almost a national sport. They say thank you to everyone all the time. Whether it's the cashier at the supermarket, the bus driver, the attendant in a pub or restaurant, they literally love to say thank you all the time. They should be a worldwide example of courtesy and politeness for sure. Number 5. It has over 7,000 pubs. Speaking of pubs, prepare your liver, because the Irish love a good pint. The country has more than 7,000 pubs all over the country. And if you're wondering if there's an audience for all this, believe me, there is. Pubs are an essential part of Irish culture, and going there is practically a ritual. The Irish love to celebrate and toast with a pint of Guinness, Ireland's most famous and world-renowned beer. In Dublin alone, the capital, there are over 750 pubs, including the historic The Brazen Head and the iconic Temple Bar, Ireland's most famous pub. Number 6. Colored doors. And while we're on the subject of drinking, one of the first things you notice when you visit Ireland is the colorful doors on the houses. Yellow, red, green, blue. They are vibrant and stylish, especially in the capital. But why are these doors colorful, and what does this have to do with drinks? Well, there are 2 explanations. The most amusing says that the idea of painting the doors different colors came from the women, who were tired of picking up their drunken husbands who ended up knocking on the wrong door. The second explanation is related to the Great Famine, one of the most difficult periods in Irish history, between 1500 and 1800, when the population suffered from the devastation of the potato plantations, the staple food. During this time, Queen Victoria's husband died, and as a sign of mourning, the Irish were forced to fly black flags. However, since life was too gloomy, many decided to paint their doors various colors to bring a little joy into the gloom. Regardless of their origin, these doors are a real charm. Number 7. Newgrange. Continuing our tour of Ireland, our next destination is Newgrange, a monument that leaves many people in awe. Over 5,000 years old, it is older than the pyramids of Egypt and Stonehenge, which is a fascinating curiosity in itself. The monument is a gigantic circular structure, 80 meters in diameter and 13 meters high, made of stones and earth. Inside, there are 3 chambers where artifacts and cremated human remains have been found. And you can still find spiral and geometric symbols on the stones, the meanings of which remain a mystery to this day. But what is most striking about this place is the famous phenomenon that takes place during the winter solstice. Every year, on the morning of December 21st, sunlight enters through a carefully designed opening and illuminates the inner chamber, creating a spectacle that can only be seen for a few minutes on that particular day. Legend has it that Newgrange was the home of Celtic gods such as Dagda and her son Angus, and was closely linked to the cycle of life and death. Number 8. Irish folklore and superstitions. I think you can tell by now that we're steeped in beliefs and legends, right? The truth is that Ireland is practically synonymous with folklore, beliefs, and superstitions. One of the country's greatest symbols is the shamrock. According to an old Irish legend, the rare 4-leaf clover symbolizes luck and fortune for those who find it. The ancient Celts believed that the Druids used this magical plant to ward off evil spirits and even obtain visions of fairies and creatures of nature. The exact origin of this legend is uncertain, but some versions say that when Eve was expelled from paradise, she took a clover as a souvenir. Another popular legend has it that St. Patrick, the patron saint of Ireland, used the shamrock to symbolize the Holy Trinity. Now, a word of warning. The four-leaf clover is only considered a good luck charm if it is found by chance in nature, so don't buy it or get it as a gift, okay? Number 9. Marriage proposal. Still on the subject of St. Patrick, here's another legend that has become a custom and tradition. The tradition of women getting down on one knee. But I'll explain it to you. They say it all started with a conversation between the patron saints of Ireland, St. Bridget and St. Patrick, about how difficult it was for women to wait for a proposal. St. Patrick decided to help, and the tradition of women proposing began in the 13th century. This tradition wasn't very well known here until the release of the movie Leap Year, where the protagonist travels to Ireland willing to take advantage of the tradition and propose to her boyfriend. But back to reality, according to tradition, on the 29th of February, women can ask their boyfriends to marry them, and the detail, they can't refuse. Well, technically they can, but then they have to make it up to their beloved with a gift, a declaration, a kiss, or anything she likes. In the old days, tradition had it that the man who refused the proposal had to buy his wife 12 pairs of gloves, so that she could hide the shame of not wearing an engagement ring. Fortunately, nowadays everything is more fun and less tragic. Of course, you can't talk about Irish folklore without mentioning the famous leprechaun. Legend has it that he guards all of Ireland's hidden treasures. If you find one, don't let it go and make 3 wishes. In pop culture, the most famous leprechaun is the mascot of the Lucky Charms breakfast cereal. The darker version is Lubden from the horror movie series Leprechaun. Number 10. Bram Stoker. But if we're going to talk about horror, then we have to mention our most famous bloodsucker of all time. And no, I'm not talking about Twilight or Edward Cullen. We're talking about horror. Yes, hardly anyone knows, but Count Dracula, one of the most famous monsters in fantasy, has his origins in Ireland, at least literally speaking. The character was created by Bram Stoker, a name that joins the long list of renowned Irish authors around the world. Number 11. A hotbed of talent. But Irish culture isn't just about literature. Music is a vital part of Ireland's soul. And what a list of stars this little country has. From the band U2, with their stadium anthems like With or Without You, to the unique and melancholic sound of the Cranberries, with classics like Zombie. Sinead O'Connor is also fundamental when it comes to powerful voices. With Nothing Compares to You, she helped put Irish music on the world map. And the Irish don't just shine in music, cinema has its stars too. From Pierce Brosnan, the eternal 007, to Liam Neeson, who saved his daughter in Relentless Pursuit and fought for justice in Schindler's List. And of course, there's the beloved Colerio Farrell. It's actually Colin. But as well as kicking ass in the movies, he's a big hit with the ladies who have nicknamed him that. Number 12. Skellig Michael Islands. Our next destination is Skellig Michael, a rocky island in County Kerry, Ireland, which impresses with its isolated beauty and fascinating history. This island, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is home to one of the oldest Christian monasteries in the world, founded in the 6th century. It was in this remote and inaccessible location that Christian monks sought refuge to practice their faith in peace, away from the persecutions taking place in Britain. The monastery was built on top of the island, more than 200 meters above sea level, with stone structures including churches, sleeping cells, a round tower, and even a cemetery. The monks also developed a system of agricultural terraces to grow food, overcoming the difficulties of the steep, rocky terrain. And for Star Wars fans, it was an important location for the filming of the last 3 films in the franchise. Number 13. The Cliffs of Moher. Now, leaving the Skellig Michael Islands, we travel to the west of Ireland, where we find one of the country's most impressive settings, the Cliffs of Moher. These majestic cliffs, rising some 200 meters above the Atlantic, stretch for approximately 8 kilometers along the coast, providing a breathtaking view of the ocean and the Aran Islands. But as well as all this natural beauty, the Cliffs of Moher also have their own stories and legends. Just like everything else in Ireland, don't you think? One of the region's most famous legends is that of the submerged city of Kilstiffen. Legend has it that the city disappeared into the depths when it was cursed by a sorceress when its leader lost a golden key in battle, a key that unlocks a castle of great importance. It is said that the city will only be restored when the key is recovered, but its whereabouts remain a mystery. But the bizarre part is that the legend also speaks of a ghostly apparition that says that every 7 years, the city rises from the waters for a brief moment. However, the sight of this city brings bad luck, and whoever sees it will not survive until its next appearance. Number 14. There are only 5 cities in Ireland. Another surprising fact about this magical land is that in the entire Republic of Ireland, there are officially only 5 cities: Dublin, Cork, Limerick, Galway, and Waterford. This is because in Ireland, the status of city is not attributed solely by size or population, but by a title granted by the British Crown before independence. Dublin, the capital, is the largest and most famous of the 5, being the political, economic, and cultural center of the country. Cork, known as the rebel capital, is the second largest and has a rich port history. Limerick, meanwhile, is known for its strong artistic and historical scene, while Galway is famous for its bohemian atmosphere and festivals. Finally, Waterford is the oldest of the 5, with roots dating back to the Vikings. Interestingly, other locations that could be considered large enough to be cities, such as Kilkenny or Drogheda, are technically classified as towns, villages, which makes this division even more peculiar. So, although the country has many vibrant urban centers, only these 5 bear the official title of cities. Number 15. More sheep than people. To close our list on a high note, let's leave the legends aside and talk about an unusual fact about Ireland. Here, there are almost more sheep than people. You know that story about Holland having more bicycles than people? Well, in Ireland, the equivalent is sheep. While the human population is around 5 million, the number of sheep exceeds 4 million. They dominate the green fields that are the country's trademark. As well as being an important part of the economy, sheep have also become a kind of symbol of Ireland. But what about you? Were you surprised by these curiosities? Did you know any legends? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on our next adventure in this Bello Mundo.